Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that is probably on all of our minds right now. We're looking at how artificial intelligence is fundamentally changing the way we approach our daily work, and maybe more importantly, the hidden costs of all that incredible convenience. We're going to break down some super interesting insights into coding, writing, and the psychology of effort, all coming from a developer and writer known as Aang. Let's get right into it.
So here's the big question we really need to chew on. Are we just outsourcing our chores? Or are we actually outsourcing our expertise? It's a tricky balance, right? On one hand, we've got these magical tools that can seemingly do it all for us in seconds. But on the other hand, our cognitive abilities absolutely require friction to stay sharp. It creates this really fascinating tension between just getting things done quickly and actually developing our personal skills. I mean, think about this for a second. With the right prompts, AI can now build almost anything, even an operating system from scratch. An entire operating system from scratch. For a hobbyist, AI completely obliterates the traditional hurdles of not knowing how or even where to bootstrap a really complex project. The barrier to entry has essentially dropped to zero. It's a massive, high-stakes shift, and it completely changes the game for both hobbyists and seasoned professionals. To unpack all of this, here's our roadmap for today. We'll briefly cover the AI productivity shift, the idea of the craftsman versus the plumber, using AI as your proofreader, the risk of skill atrophy, and finally, finding the right balance.
All right, part one, the AI productivity shift.
Context time. For decades now, the commercial tech industry has kind of been running in circles. We spend way too much time rediscovering new languages or frameworks, and we completely ignore the well-maintained standard libraries that are already sitting right there. Honestly, most software built today is just CRUD. Create, read, update, delete. Or as Aang pretty bluntly puts it, we're mostly just building glorified spreadsheets. It's a problem that's been solved for ages, yet we just keep inventing new ways to do the exact same thing over and over. We're constantly chasing solutions looking for problems, totally driven by endless hype cycles. And, well, this stagnant environment, it's exactly what AI has come in and violently disrupted.
Which brings us to part two, craftsman versus plumber. Because of this disruption, there are basically two diverging paths we can take when using AI to solve these repetitive everyday problems. If you're a software craftsman, you're probably sticking with a manual, incremental approach. You use AI, sure, but primarily as a glorified rubber duck. You know, a sounding board to bounce your own ideas off of, while you retain full control of the actual mechanics. But if you're a software plumber building commercially, AI lets you move totally away from just laying pipes. The focus shifts entirely to the deliverable itself. You focus heavily on writing the specifications, doing the testing, and navigating the messy, non-technical human issues. The job basically becomes way less about technical coding and much more about ensuring you're building the right thing to begin with.
But here is the catch. You might think that because AI makes us code incredibly fast, software projects must be succeeding at record rates now, right? Well, actually no. Aang points out a really fascinating irony here. Despite this massive increase in pure productivity, the rate of project cancellations hasn't dropped at all. It remains just as high as ever. Why is that? Because simply coding faster doesn't fix a bad spec. It doesn't fix misaligned team goals or terrible management. The emergence of AI is pushing the commercial world to optimize for speed, which completely misses the actual bottleneck of why projects fail.
Let's pivot a bit for part three, AI as your proofreader.
This doesn't just apply to code. Think about writing. By letting AI act as a highly reliable proofreader for the actual mechanics of writing, you are completely freed up to focus on the structure and the underlying ideas. Aang notes that they struggle far less now with phrasing and syntax, the grammar, style, voice, all of that. Instead, the workflow completely flips. Step 1, you research. Step 2, you structure your thoughts and arguments. And step 3, AI steps in to handle the syntax. It acts as this super-powered grammar and typo checker. This allows the human creator to focus 100% of their mental energy entirely on the actual content, rather than getting bogged down in the mechanical assembly of the words.
But there is a downside, which brings us to part 4, the risk of skill atrophy.
If AI is handling all the mechanics for us, we face the very real, very dangerous risk of skill atrophy. Think about it. When you stop writing the syntax yourself, or when you stop laying those digital pipes yourself, you slowly lose the ability to navigate those mechanics on your own. You become dependent.
If the tool suddenly goes away, or if you need to troubleshoot a really deep, fundamental mechanical flaw, your foundational skills simply aren't there anymore, purely because you haven't been using them. I absolutely love this analogy from the author. Struggling is the work and the learning, just like muscle soreness is the exercise. It's so true, isn't it? When we bypass a tricky coding problem or a difficult paragraph with AI, we feel relieved. We think, awesome, I bypassed the struggle. But the profound point here is that the struggle wasn't just in the way of the work. The struggle was the work. Just like you literally can't outsource your weightlifting to a robot and expect to get stronger yourself, you can't outsource the struggle of problem solving and expect your own cognitive skills to improve. So we have to be incredibly careful not to trade hard work for the mere illusion of productivity. Sure, AI can help us generate thousands of lines of code or pages of text in a blink, making us feel incredibly efficient. But a lot of times, that's just busy work, and efficiency isn't the same as effectiveness. Effectiveness requires actual learning and deep understanding. It requires that hard work, that cognitive muscle soreness. That old debate of efficiency versus effectiveness holds absolutely true, maybe more than ever in the age of generative AI. Finally, part 5, finding the right balance. So how do we actually navigate this? Well, your goal dictates exactly how you should treat AI. If your primary goal right now is learning and understanding how things work, then you must treat AI strictly as a complementary tool. Your focus area is the process itself. You do the driving, the AI is just your GPS. However, if your primary goal is simply to ship things fast, say you're that software plumber working commercially, then by all means, treat the AI like an outsourced contractor. Task it to do everything, pay the compute costs, and simply verify the end product. Here, your focus is entirely on the end result, not the process. Finding that right balance is absolutely the key to surviving this technological shift. We have to consciously adjust our methods based on what we are actually trying to achieve in that specific moment. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought to really chew on before you open your next prompt window. On your next project, are you trying to learn or are you trying to ship? Your answer changes everything. Thanks for joining me, and keep learning.